Hi, this is Christine Beckwith coming to you from New York at the Mortgage News Network studios, and I'm super excited to bring you another episode of Power Women with Class, sponsored by Class Valuation. And today I have with me Lisa Schreiber, Senior Vice President of NewRez, formerly known as New Penn Financial. Lisa, we're so excited to have you here today.
Thanks, Christine. I'm really excited to be here too. Good morning.
Good morning. So let's get right down to it. The audience has a lot of questions. I'm getting great feedback on all these shows. We're going to go back to the beginning of your career, to the first year that you entered the mortgage business.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
What does it look like? What does that year look like for Lisa?
Well, I was actually a single mom, and I had gone back to school for a paralegal degree. Unfortunately, I had not researched paralegal salaries very much and found that I could actually get a job under the legal section of a newspaper for a mortgage company much faster and at a higher salary.
Interesting.
Than I could a paralegal. So I tripped into it, as most people probably do say that they do.
Yep, everybody comes in sideways. Mm-hmm. And what did that year, let's expand on that a little bit. What did that year for you present for challenges? Was it an easy input, or did you face challenges? And if so, share with the younger people getting in the mortgage business right now what they might face. I know it's different then than now, but what was it like then?
Well, it was a busy year. So I was very lucky to be hired at a very good company. It was called First Performance up in northern New Jersey. But the best thing that ever happened to me was I was hired by a woman named Pat Burns Taylor. I would call her my very first mentor. She was the president of the New Jersey MBA. How lucky was I that my very first job, with knowing nothing about the mortgage business, was an unbelievable woman, very giving, very sharing of her knowledge. So I was so lucky. I came in and I started with post-closing, which is really the whole back end of the process. Yeah. I will say I'm a little too hyper for post-closing, so it was challenging for me. But quickly I moved into the closing department and really just started to learn the business from the operations perspective.
And I want to break down a couple of things that you said there that are really key. And again, yes, everybody enters sideways. Nobody comes into the mortgage business directly.
That's for sure.
So we all say we have someone to blame for getting into this business. But naming your mentor, that's so great to hear. So many of us did not have great female mentors. I say that, I want to make that statement because we're hoping to educate our followers. It's a new generation today, and women are reaching out to hand that baton today. You are, I am, so many others that have been on this show and are watching this show. Yeah, and so we're in a new time. We're very lucky to be in that time. So you were really lucky to have that. That's great. So now think back to that girl. What advice today, knowing what you know, would you give that girl back then?
I think when I first started, it was very haphazard. So I kind of started and I didn't really, I wasn't planning a career in the mortgage business. So I think being more aware, really understanding the real opportunity that was in front of me, I just really tripped through a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of folks do. I
think that's true.
Very talented people coming into our business, and now that I've been in a long time and I've been management, I've senior leadership and building channels and businesses, I see people with such great potential. Yep. And I don't think they really realize it right away. Yeah. So kind of grabbing onto that much earlier, I think I would have.
Yeah, it's funny because I've become nostalgic giving these interviews, and I've discovered through reminiscing with so many people talking about the last 20, 30 years that just how far the mortgage industry itself has come. Right. The evolution of everything. I mean, we could talk about documents and technology and all of these things, but certainly what the progress was in the way of formal coaching and formal training and formal anything that we received. So a lot of it we designed ourselves, we figured out, and you certainly found your way because look at where you are today.
Well, I was very lucky, and one of the things that happened to me early in my career is that I actually worked for MGIC for a while.
Oh, cool.
And they have the formal sales training and the presentation skills and all that, and that cleaned me up. Yeah. That kind of cleaned me up and made me a little more presentable to move forward.
Yeah, if you accidentally get into a corporate setting in somewhere, because there's so many different types of mortgaging, you get that, and that really helps you plug in. So now looking back, again, what is your most proud moment?
Well, I definitely had one of the most proud moments when I was at American Home Mortgage, ABC, American Brokers Conduit. I had left Bank of America. Now, Bank of America was an unbelievable company, and I had a great boss, and it was the original California-based Bank of America, not the one you might know today.
Yeah.
And we were at American Home. We built American Brokers Conduit from scratch. So we were 125 in the rankings when I got there, 8 people. I think even one of your power women was with me at that time. And we really grew it up into the top 10 lender in the country, wholesale lender at that time.
That's awesome.
But the coolest moment for me is I was getting on a plane, running around the country, and my boss called me and told me that the rankings had just come out. And everybody had said, how could you leave B of A? It's such a great company, and it was. But I wanted to do more.
Yeah.
And my boss called me and he said, the rankings just came out. Guess what? We just jumped B of A.
That's amazing.
And I will tell you, and then they say, you know, the doors are closing, get off your phone. And I got off the phone and I turned my head to the window and tears rolled down my face. Because it was such an accomplishment.
It's a huge accomplishment. I can see you're getting
choked
up talking about it, which is great.
Story,
and it's a touching story. And, you know, so many of us, I think you're talking about Denise Tregali.
That's right.
With the Bank of America. And I was at Bank of America, and we figured out that somewhere in our past, if you're around long enough, we've all been somewhere together. The American Home venture, because Bank of America bought American Home, so that's how we all ended up there. But, you know, it's an incredible journey. We've been through, if you've been in this business and you haven't taken a break, you've been through a lot. You've been through things that, you know, test you and, you know, bring you through the trials of this industry. So you're a survivor, and that's an incredible thing. That's a great story. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So I want to talk now about mentors. You mentioned one before, but I want to talk about mentors. So many of us, and I think this is important, and this show has begun to highlight that as we've gone through the episodes. You know, many men have elevated us, and that's so important this year that we really highlight the guys that have opened doors for all of us women, and everybody's had one, so I'm sure you do as well. Would you like to share?
Absolutely. You know, one of the greatest guys that I've met, my boss at Bank of America actually, was Ed Kalush. Terrific man, very, very supportive. I think I was challenged when it was Arbor that, you know, sold to Bank of America, and that's where we first met.
That's right.
And that was kind of a rougher transition, I think, than we thought it was going to be. And he ended up being my boss very early on in my tenure there, and just was extremely supportive. Again, I think took me to that next level, or helped me get to that next level. You know,
gave you the confidence.
At each iteration, I learned more, and I was able to take on more responsibilities, and it was really great.
That's great, and I love seeing us give that credit where it's due, because for all of us to be standing here and have these unbelievable careers and be able to have these awards that we've recently received and all these things, it's come because people have opened doors for us and recognized talent and led the way. So this brings me to the fact that we as entrepreneurs spend a ton of our time doing charity. We lend our names and we put our time in there and our causes. Do you have a charity of choice?
I do. In 2007, when we had our economic challenges and unfortunately our American Home group went down, as a lot of our peers did.
Yeah.
I ended up working with a charity called the Grandmother Project.
Okay.
And it's really unique. I really was attracted to it. I met the woman. I was actually rehabbing a school in Africa. It's kind of a long story.
So cool.
A long story. I was started to work on a school in Africa, and then I was working with a charity called Action Aid, and I met a woman who was looking for help fundraising. And so we met, and she heard I was a banker.
Yeah.
And so she immediately attached to me and said, can you help?
Why not, right?
And so she was telling me about this charity called the Grandmother Project that works throughout Africa and some other nations as well. And it's really intended to take other programs like UNICEF or World Vision, and they bring in the grandmother. So it's very woman focused, but it's really, it's like knowledge grandmother based.
Oh, that is
and
so
they bring in the
cool.
grandmother to help promote the program. So even though maybe some of these organizations like try to work with parents about nutrition or how to take care of your children, economics, they leave the grandparents out, and especially in some cultures, the grandparents are so important to those cultures that they really try to educate and bring the grandmothers in. So it's a really cool
very, very
charity.
cool.
I was able to go to Senegal and work with them for a while. And
That's awesome.
I've really been still involved in working with them and just trying to bring their message around.
That is a great message, and it lends so much to what those programs you mentioned are trying to achieve in those countries. And how cool to spend time in Africa. That's like on my bucket list, by the way.
Yeah. So. Well, and it's not the Africa that a lot of people talk about.
Yeah.
You know, it's not Safari Africa.
Yeah, no, right.
It's you know, going out and working with people that, you know, have no phones and have, you know, limited. It's real. Yeah, it's the real Africa, as my friend says.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's great. And that leads us to our last question. I think one of the most important pieces of advice we can give our audience members, and that is, when we think of everything that your career has accomplished, and you know, we don't even realize, you know, I want to say this. You mentioned earlier in answering a question that you didn't know what you didn't know when you started, and you didn't know how much opportunity you had. I truly believe, as women mentors today, to women behind us, to people behind us, in fact, because 98% of our staff is male in many instances, you know, we are leaving some sort of legacy that we don't yet know the impact we're going to have.
Right.
And so in our older years, 10 years and 20 years from now, we're going to look back. What is the definition in your mind for everybody watching of success?
For me, I believe it's pride in my accomplishments, but most of that is people-oriented, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've met so many great people over the many years. It's good or bad that almost everybody in my world is from the mortgage business. My friends, my family are all in the mortgage business. And, you know, we talk a lot about what we've accomplished together.
Yeah.
And just those memories and all the things that I feel like I've been able to do because of the people that I've been with.
That's awesome.
Right? It's certainly, I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do, and I still love what I do, even all these years later. But it's really all the people that I've done it with that I feel like is the biggest success.
And that concludes another episode of Power Women with Class, sponsored by Class Valuation. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you, Lisa Schreiber, Senior Vice President of Correspondent Lending with NewRez. So happy to have you here today. Thank you for tuning in. This is Christine Beckwith with Mortgage News Network.
The American dream lives on for homeowners all across the country. At Class Valuation, we help lenders get more borrowers into the home of their dreams. Through innovation designed to reduce turn times and ensure accuracy, we help lenders exceed borrower expectations, so that American dream lives on.
This is Mortgage News Network.